He leaned forward even further, whispering something into Bertolino's ear which I couldn't hear. The fat man's face paled under his tan. How do you know about that? Mr. Ambrose shrugged. I told you, I have sufficient contacts. Tell me everything you know, and the authorities will never need to hear of your little escapades. I know they turn a blind eye on your business here, but that, he shook his head. That would be another matter altogether, wouldn't it? The Italian's venomous glare was answer enough. For a second, Bertolino's eyes flickered to the entrance, where two burly men stood guard. They shifted, no doubt reaching for hidden weapons. Don't even think about it, Mr. Ambrose's voice cut into Bertolino's contemplation. I have men outside. If I am not out of here in a quarter of an hour, they are going to the authorities. Well, they might decide to take this place apart. They're loyal men, and very easily aggravated. The Italian's fat cheek twitched. All right, curse you. You'll get what information I have about the bandits. It's not much, but you'll have it. Adequate. The fat man's little eyes burned with malice. But I warn you, you had better not set a foot into Alexandria again. For a clueless English honeymooner, you're treading in dangerous waters. I have eliminated far more dangerous men than you. Mr. Ambrose's dark eyes sparkled, and I had to work hard to hide my smoke. Somehow, he told the Italian, I very much doubt that. Lillian, my dear. Yes. Leaning towards me, he whispered, go outside, so the men will know that everything is going to be all right. We do not want them rushing in here. But I want to stand. Do you really? Outside, the stench of chauvinism isn't nearly as overpowering, I think. This time, I couldn't keep a smirk from flitting across my face. Actually, you might be right there. Very well, see you outside in one piece. I shall do my best, my love. Oh, keep a sock in it. Rising, I marched past the dancing girls, past the staring men, towards the exit. At the door I turned my head to look back at Mr. Ambrose one last time, and that was why I didn't see the man coming towards me when I stepped outside into the street. I only realized he was there when I ran headfirst into his hard chest. Oomph. Ouch. Hey, I snapped. Watch where you're going, you bugger. I'm dreadfully sorry, madam, said a strangely familiar voice out of the gloom. Strong hands gripped my arms to steady me. I didn't see you and, the voice trailed off, but no matter, I had heard enough to recognize the shadowy figure. But, that was impossible. Nevertheless, I knew it was true. Captain Carter. Miss Linton. Granny facking for beginners. Captain Carter took a step backwards, and the light flooding from the open doorway fell across his face. A handsome face, a roguish speck of beard, a mane of brown hair. It was indeed him, in the flesh. Here. How could he be here? He said he was going to. Oh. Of course, a memory of his words during our last conversation flashed through my mind. We've had reports of a series of vicious attacks on traders in one of the Eastern Protectorates. There's pressure on the Admiralty and the Commander-in-Chief to get quick results. The Navy has already dispatched several vessels, and if they can't root the bandits out from sea, we'll probably be sent in. I stared at him in stunned realization. Of all the countries in the world he could have been talking about, it had to be this one. And I already had a good idea who had perpetrated those vicious attacks he had mentioned. Talk about coincidence, bloody hell. The surprise must have shown on my face, but if I was surprised, it was nothing compared to the utter incredulity in his tone when he next spoke. Miss Linton, Miss Lily Linton. I gave him a smile I hoped was casual and relaxed. It probably wasn't. The one and only. What in the name of all that is holy are you doing here? Looking from left to right, I desperately racked my brain for something to say. I went out for a walk. His eyebrows, already quite high up, hastily climbed another few dozen rungs on the ladder of his face. From London to Alexandria? No, of course not. I came here by ship, on my hoe. I bit down on my tongue just in time. Blast, I had just been about to tell him I was here on my honeymoon. That might lead to slightly awkward results, seeing as he knew perfectly well I wasn't married and that my last name wasn't Mrs. Thompson. I'm here on a holiday. Quickly, I hid the hand with the wedding ring behind my back. Here, Captain Carter looked around at the dark, dingy alleyway. Most windows and doorways were as black as pitch. The few that betrayed some sign of life echoed with raucous laughter, or the sound of fighting. Finally, his eyes settled on the doorway behind me, through which, I knew, the forms of half-naked women had to be perfectly visible. Interesting spot for a young lady to spend her holiday. I rolled my eyes. Not here in this place, obviously. I mean, I'm here in Egypt on holiday. Oh, I see. He still didn't seem very reassured. You're here all alone? No, of course not. I'm here with a chauvinistic businessman who is forcing me to pretend to be his wife so he can take his time finding and slaughtering a few dozen bandits. No, of course not. I'm staying at the Hotel Luxor, with my grandmother. I lied. It seemed believable. There were plenty of old ladies back at the hotel, here in Egypt to cure their rheumatism or something. I could only hope to God Captain Carter would never come to the hotel and find out the truth. The Hotel Luxor. He took another look around. That's quite a long way away from here, isn't it? I shrugged. Like I said, I went for a walk, and I must have lost my way a bit. I'd say. My chin lifted. Enough with this inquisition. It was time to go on the offensive. Since we're on the subject, Captain, what are you doing here? The captain bit his lip. I'm not really supposed to say. I gave him my most charming smile, and even went so far as to bat my eyelashes. Oh, Captain, you know you can trust me, don't you? There were a few more seconds of hesitation, then Captain Carter released his lip with a sigh. Bloody hell, you're a dangerous woman, you know that? Yes. I waited, then batted my eyelashes again, just in case. He sighed in resignation. All right, you remember those things I told you about my being sent after bandits? Indeed I do. Well, they're here, in Egypt. Egyptian, English and French trade routes are all at risk, so it will be a joint operation, with each nation contributing one task force. I'm in charge of the force the British Army sent to take care of those robbers. Dear me, I actually managed to sound surprised. And what are you doing in this alley, then? Shouldn't you be in the desert? Not yet. First I have to find out where those criminals are. Looking from left to right as if fearing someone might be listening, he leaned forward. Don't tell this to anyone, he whispered, but I think I might have found a clue to the bandits' whereabouts. I did my best to make my eyes go big with girlish excitement. Indeed, yes, in that disreputable tavern behind you which, by the way, I advise you strongly not to enter as a man who, according to my sources, might know where they have their lair. You don't say. I stepped aside to let him pass. Well, it was nice seeing you, Captain. I shouldn't detain you any longer. You probably have to get on with your investigation. His mouth propped open slightly. What, you surely don't expect me to leave you behind in this den of iniquity, completely alone and without protection? I won't be alone. There are men in the shadows watching, and men in the shadows watching the men who are watching. I managed to force a smile on my face. But surely, your investigation can wait until tomorrow. I will escort you back to the hotel straight away. Oh, Captain, that really isn't necessary. Of course it is, he told me sincerely, taking hold of my hand. There are all sorts of ruffians loose in this part of the city. I myself was nearly attacked twice on my way here. I am surprised that you've made it this far in one piece. Well, my secret legion of bodyguards probably helped. Really, I tried one final time. You don't have to do this. I'll be fine, please. Squeezing my hand, he gazed deep into my eyes. His shining brown eyes looked like chocolate, warm and utterly enthralling. I had never noticed before how beautiful they were. Blast, why did chocolate have to be my favorite food? Please, Miss Linton, let me accompany you back. I can live with myself if something happened to you because I wasn't there to prevent it. That was so typically male, chauvinistic, and sweet as chocolate. I gave a little nod. All right. Blast, what about Mr. Ambrose? If he comes out here and finds me gone, I can imagine his reaction. But I really didn't want to. Besides, he added in a more cheerful tone, if I come with you, I can meet your grandmother. I'd be delighted to make her acquaintance. Oh my god. Of course, I said, wishing I could just disappear into the earth. I can't wait for you to meet her. The only problem being that she's back in England. What now? Crap. Oblivious to my panic, Captain Carter linked arms with me and started to lead me up the alley. Halfway up I turned my head to throw an anxious glance back at the tavern which still contained my dear employer, Mr. Rickard Ambrose. What will he think when he comes out and doesn't find you out here? Asked a nasty little voice in my head. Nice, calm, relaxing thoughts, I hoped. But somehow, I doubted it. Our walk back to the hotel passed quite eventlessly. Captain Carter commented once or twice with amazement on how much quieter and safer the dark streets had apparently become since he'd passed through. I MHH med and tried not to flush. Once or twice, I saw dark figures out of the corner of my eye, behind us, to our left, our right, everywhere. It probably wasn't the entire group of guards, but at least part had split off to see me safely back to the hotel. I wasn't particularly reassured by this. My brain was whirring like a mad spinning wheel, trying to figure out a way to manufacture a grandmother within approximately 5 minutes. So far, I had come up blank. We reached the hotel by just about 11 p.m. At the bottom of the stairs, I turned to Captain Carter with a charming smile. Thank you, Captain. It was so nice of you to escort me this far. But you don't need to come inside, really. I can manage the rest of the way fine by myself. But then I wouldn't meet your grandmother. I've been looking forward to making her acquaintance. Blast, may worms nest in your stomach and nibble at your insides. Why do you have to be so infernally nice? You're too kind, Captain, I told him, and never had I meant anything more literally. Please come in, I'll introduce you. Cursing myself and the blasted goddess of fate responsible for bringing us together in that dark alley, I led him up the stairs and into the lobby. Desperately, I looked around for something. Anything in my eyes fell on my salvation. Grandmother, with a fake smile on my face that hurt my cheeks, I scuttled towards the deaf little old lady I had noticed before in the dining hall. Grandmother, how nice to see you again. With bated breath, I waited for the axe to fall. I had a 50-50 chance. Hey, blinking up at me, the old lady raised a hand to her ear. What, you'll have to speak up, dearie, I can't hear you. Yes. Deaf as a post, yes. Captain Carter, I said, gesturing him closer, my grin now 100% genuine as relief welled up inside me. Meet my grandmother, Frederica Linton. Grandmother, this is Captain Carter, a good friend of mine. What? The old lady leaned forward a bit more. Who has kept it harder? Carter, the captain said, in a slightly raised voice. Not harder. Carter, Captain Carter. What larder, young man? What are you talking about? We're not in a larder. This is the lobby of a first-class hotel, in case you haven't noticed. Charming, isn't she? I asked the captain with a smirk. Absolutely dazzling, Miss Linton. I hardly know what to say. Pay, the old lady demanded. What would I want you to pay for? I've got my own money and can take very good care of myself, you know. Young people nowadays. Who are you anyway? Carter, madam. Captain James Carter. The old lady shook her head. No, we're not in a larder. How many times do I have to tell you that? Captain Carter and I had a nice chat with my grandmother. By the end of it, he was completely exhausted, and the old lady had had a fabulous time explaining to us how frivolous today's youth was and saying, what? About 3 dozen times. Finally, Captain Carter decided to take his leave. You won't mind if I go already, Miss Linton. You see, I have a long way back to my own hotel. But if you think it would be rude of me to leave already I could. Oh, no, not rude at all. Put your mind at rest, Captain. Well, if you think so. Definitely. He smiled at me, a genuine, warm smile that made me feel a little guilty for how I had been trying to get rid of him. May I look in on you, to see how you're doing? Yes, of course you may. I'd love to see you, really. The only problem with that is that I'm staying here as a married woman, under an assumed name. I'm afraid my aunt and I will be leaving soon for a trip down the Nile, or some other expedition. Oh, he looked disappointed. Well, then, farewell, Miss Linton. Au revoir, Captain. Reaching out, I took his hand, and gave it a gentle squeeze. I look forward to seeing you again in London, and dancing our next gallop. That brought a smile to his face. He bowed snappily and kissed my hand in farewell. I waited until he was out of sight, outside the hotel, then I let my held breath escape. Thank God, major catastrophe averted, secret identity saved. Not bad for one night. A tickling sensation drew my attention then. Raising my hand, I watched it for a moment, as if it might bite. The spot he had kissed was still sort of tingly. Odd, that had never happened when some of my suitors smooched my hand. The only thing that made me feel was an intense desire for a towel, soap, and a bucket of water. Taking a deep gulp of air, I turned and started forward, towards the reception desk. In a matter of minutes I acquired a set of keys from the night porter, and made my way up the stairs towards our suite of rooms. I was bone tired. From the bottom of my heart I prayed that the bed up there was soft and had a nice, down-filled cushion. Reaching the top of the stairs, I unlocked the door to my room, and was just about going to go in search of my nice, comfy bed when I noticed a figure standing in the middle of the room. A tall and leanly muscular figure in a black tailcoat, staring at me with freezing intensity. Well, my love, Mr. Ambrose's voice was so icy it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Do you want to explain where you've been? Suspicions. Well, Mr. Ambrose's gaze drilled into me like a diamond drill into hot butter. Where were you? I. Seriously, that was all I was capable of saying. So pathetic. What business was it of his where I had gone, anyway? Do you have any idea? His menacing voice drifted to my quivering auricular iris. 18. What I thought when I left Dark Nights of Delight to find you had disappeared. Thank you, God, thank you so much, I suggested. He didn't seem to appreciate my fine humor. You, he told me, taking a step towards me, gliding through the shadows, don't just leave without my authorization. Without my permission, you don't even move a toe, do you understand? I opened my mouth to fire back a reply, but then I realized there was only one fitting reply to this, and it didn't even need words. Bending, I unlaced my shoe, kicked it off and stretched out my foot. Slowly and demonstratively, I wiggled my toes, all 5 of them. I grinned up at Mr. Ambrose. Oh, how good it felt to stretch one's feet after such a long walk. In 2 long strides, Ricard Ambrose had crossed the distance between us. Grabbing my shoulders, he pushed me backwards, away from my forlorn-looking shoe. I felt like Cinderella in reverse. Hey, let go of me. Not until I have proof that I have managed to instill some semblance of sense into that foolish female head of yours. Do you have any idea what could have happened to you out there in the dark alleys of Alexandria? I'm a Londoner. We have street gangs that are 10 times worse than anything they've got here, I proclaimed with an unusual burst of patriotism. And how much of your time in London has been spent in the darker corners of the East End? About 5 minutes, and you were with me, then. Exactly, his eyes glinted in the darkness. Any city in the world has its dark places, and they're all deadly to a defenseless girl like you. Defenseless girl. In an instant, my temper shot up to the boiling point. I'll show him how defenseless I am. My knee surged forward and upward, right towards his crotch, but before it could hit its mark, his legs snapped closed, trapping me in between. I wriggled and writhed, but no matter how much I strained against him, I couldn't get free. My legs struggled inefficiently against the vice of his iron-hard muscles. Let go. Yes, he told me, tightening his hold. A defenseless girl. Let go, I said. So, what would you have done, he inquired coolly, if a few of the ruffians who infest that part of the city had decided to try their luck with you? Completely ignoring my attempts to get free, he leaned closer. Even in the darkness that had taken hold of the room, from this close I could see his eyes clearly now. They were dark pools, swallowing everything, demanding more. Well, what would you have done? I wouldn't have needed to do anything. The guards were with me. True, and what if Cream, in his commendable foresight, hadn't sent half of them with you? I still wouldn't have been alone. There was someone with me who, my voice trailed off as the darkness in Mr. Ambrose's eyes flared, and the muscles of his jaw tightened. I knew instantly that he had seen Captain Carter. I also knew that mentioning him had been a bad idea. A very, very bad idea. Oops. Yes, he said. His voice, only Icelandic so far, had moved to Arctic temperatures. I noticed. Tell me, just out of curiosity, who was that man? What man? I tried to play innocent. The only problem was I had never been particularly innocent. The man who brought you to the hotel. Tall, brown hair, a ridiculous speck of beard on his chin. It's not ridiculous, and I don't know a man like that anyway. Answer me, who was he? I tried to shrug. This isn't very easy to do when both your shoulders are in the unbreakable grip of a muscular financial magnate, but I did my best. Just someone I know from London. We accidentally bumped into each other. Don't worry, he doesn't know we're staying here under false names. I took care of it. Mr. Ambrose cocked his head. Shadows moved across his face, casting his already dark eyes into deeper blackness. Just someone you know. Yes. A mere acquaintance. Yes, exactly. A pause. A very heavy, very dark pause. I didn't know it was common for mere acquaintances to kiss a lady's hand on departure, nowadays. Blast. He had seen that. I felt my face heat. Double and triple blast. Thank God my skin was tanned and it was dark in the room. What was I blushing for, anyway? If Captain Carter wanted to kiss my hand, he could do so all day long, and there was nothing Mr. Ambrose could say or do about it. I didn't know it was common for people to spy on other people's farewells, nowadays, I shot back. It isn't, he told me coldly. That's just something I do. You are insufferable. Respect, my dear, respect. His voice was silky, unusually soft with threat. I am your husband after all. You're an arrogant, calculating bastard with an iceberg for a heart. That, too. Let go. No. I'm going to kill you. You're going to try. Bloody hell, how can he still sound so infuriatingly cool? Let me go. No, he leaned forward until I could feel his breath on my face. For some inexplicable reason, my knees suddenly felt weak. Let's talk about that man, my dear. Let's not. Who was he, exactly, and what was he doing here? I glared up at him. He isn't coming back. Indeed, he cocked his head like a panther about to leap. That is satisfactory to hear, but it is not what I asked, my love. What is he doing here in Alexandria? Go to hell, I snarled, or at least tried to snarl. It somehow came out softer and breathier than intended. Darn. I could have told him about Captain Carter and his mission, of course. I could have told him everything, and he'd probably have been content. But I would be damned before I answered the questions of a man who had dared to call me a defenseless girl. Worse, a man who had grabbed me, held me, and proved to me that in comparison to him, I was a defenseless girl. Curse him, I'll be damned before I say a single word, no matter what malignant methods he'll use to question me. Did he follow you here? Did he follow you from London to Egypt? My mouth fell open in utter astonishment. The flame under my boiling pot of anger went out in a puff of smoke. What? It's a simple enough question, wife. Did this man follow you to Egypt? Is he after you? After me? Yes. You mean? Lightning flashed in the dark clouds of his eyes. I mean, is he enamored with you? Does he wish you to be his? My mouth propped open a little farther. I didn't know it could open this wide. You never cease to learn, I guess. What business of yours would it be if he did? Mr. Ambrose's eyes glittered darkly. None whatsoever, except for the fact that, for the next few months at least, you're already taken. You don't seriously expect me to? Yes, I expect you to. He leaned closer, and I couldn't for an instant look away from his chiseled stone-hard face. Those eyes of his seemed to draw me in, threatening to swallow me whole, body, mind and soul. Here's how seriously I expect you to. His mouth was on me before I could blink. A wave of heat surged through me from my lips down to my toes the moment our lips touched. Suddenly, I didn't mind the fact that he was holding me tightly against him so much. I didn't mind it at all. My hands shot out, grasping his arms to pull him still closer. His lips moved against mine with enough force to shatter a mountain. Was I stronger than a mountain? I'd always thought so, but I felt ready to break into 1,000 pieces of ecstasy any moment. While we're here, his cold voice reached my ear, his murmur caressing my mouth. You're mine. Do you understand? Mine. I'm not. Before I could say another word, he had caught my lower lip between his teeth, holding it prisoner. Let go. IoT annuities. What did you say, my dear, temporary love? I said IoT annuities. What I had been trying to fling into his face were the defiant words, I'm not anybody's. But it's difficult to fling words of defiance into someone's face while that someone is attached to your face by biting down on your lower lip. Particularly if his gentle bite is sending tingles through your entire body, making your knees want to give way. What the hell is the matter with you? Where is your self-respect? Stand up straight. Fight that bastard off. That's what you want. Right. Maybe. But standing up straight seemed like such an exhausting thing to do right now. Besides, what could I do to fight him off, anyway? You can give as good as you get. Bite him. Slowly, my lips curved into a smile. All right, let's show him who's in charge. Snaking my arms up around his neck, I pulled him closer towards me. In an instant, he was on me again and was delving into my mouth, probing its depths. Trying to keep my knees from melting, I waited. I waited until he pushed his lower lip forward, gently massaging my upper lip with both of his. Now. My teeth came down. My grin widened for about 1 millisecond, before he picked me up off the floor like a doll and surged forwards. I had hardly time to think, bloody hell, what's this? He's supposed to let me go, not carry me to the... Before he rushed through the door into the next room and flung me onto something soft and velvety. Woof. Feathers creaked under me. The chaise lounge. Why had he thrown me onto the chaise lounge? I have a question for you. His voice came drifting out of the darkness, somehow seducing me no matter how cold and hard it was. No, because it was, while you were here. I tried to drag a breath into my laboring lungs. I tried to see where he was, to scramble away, but the breath had been knocked out of me. It was pitch black inside the room, and my limbs felt like putty. While you were here, Mr. Linton, came his voice out of the dark again. What are you? This was bloody ridiculous. He had just kissed me on the mouth, and now he was calling me mister. I opened my mouth to protest. The creak of the feathers was all the warning I got. I never sensed him above me, so silently and smoothly did he move. Trapping both my arms at my sides, he claimed my mouth with his again, cutting off my protest in more than one way. His kiss didn't just keep me from rejecting him, it kept me from wanting to. Dear God. While you're here, he whispered against my mouth, his smooth, ice-cold voice burrowing into me like a frozen spear until it found my heart. What are you? Tell me. He released my mouth for just a moment. My eyes had gotten used to the dark by now, and I could see the faint outline of his face in the gloom. I could see his eyes, calling me, holding me more securely than his hands ever could. The words escaped my mouth without thinking. Yours. I'm yours. Asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk. Just to make sure everyone who reads this knows, there were 2 beds in the suite. 2, and we used both of them that night, separately. I just wanted to get that out there before anyone got any ideas. My behavior in the recent past might have been a tiny bit erratic. Some might even use the word passionate, but that was just the heat of Egypt affecting my delicate English nervous system. I was still a feminist. I thoroughly and totally despised men, especially one particular specimen of the species. Really, I heard a little voice every time during the next few days when our lips happened to touch, coincidentally. You don't really act like you despise him. Emphasis on act. I was acting a role. After all, he was paying me, at the moment, to pretend to be his loving wife. Nobody should be able to accuse me of not doing a thorough job. Nice. The only problem with that argument is that whenever you are in company, i.e. whenever your acting skills are actually required, you behave like a vengeful harpy. It's just when the two of you are completely and utterly alone that you... Shut up, I growled. The hotel doorman, who was just holding the door to Mr. Ambrose's coach open for me, stared up at me in surprise. Excuse me, madam. Nothing. I was talking to myself. And not winning the argument, by the way. Quickly, I got inside and settled down beside Mr. Ambrose. I didn't ask where we were going. For the last couple of days, a routine had established itself. In the morning, we would breakfast and then drive into the city, continuing our inquiries, since apparently whatever information Bertolino had given was not sufficient. At noon, we would lunch at some place where the entire city observed us being the happily married couple. After another round of investigating, we would finally return to the hotel for a romantic dinner on the terrace. Next time we sit down for dinner and I ask you what you would like to drink, Mr. Ambrose whispered, leaning towards me, to try not to answer, your blood, with soda. It doesn't really fit the role of a loving wife. All right, maybe not all the dinners had been that romantic, but what did he expect? The stress of having to wear a wedding ring was straining my feminist limits. You want me to behave reasonably? I demanded, then stop opening doors and pulling back chairs for me. Admittedly, in the beginning it had been sort of fun, but it hadn't taken long for the chauvinistic implications to occur to me. I could open my own doors, thank you very much. I can't. I'm supposed to be a gentleman, and you're my loving wife. I'm not some useless appendage to a man, my dear husband. I have 2 arms and hands of my own, as you will find out to your detriment as soon as I get my hands on a knife at dinner. You do understand the meaning of the term, loving, don't you? I chose not to dignify that with a response. With a derisive snort, Mr. Ambrose turned away from me and struck his cane against the roof of the coach. Drive. More days of secret investigation followed, coupled with more attempts to display our relationship in public. Needless to say, the attempts were not very successful. Once, when I was trying to smile at Mr. Ambrose at dinner in the hotel dining room, a concerned waiter who had noticed my expression came over to inquire if I suffered from lockjaw and needed medical assistance. What I wanted to know was, why was I so useless at trying to be Mr. Ambrose's pretend wife? I was usually a pro at acting. I had played a lady in distress, a secretary to one of the world's most famous businessmen, even my own Uncle Buffett. On that last occasion you were caught and arrested, though, weren't you? Well, yes, but that wasn't the point. The point was that I was really good at playing a role, any role. Being the fake wife of Richard Ambrose should have been a breeze. All I had to do was dance, smile and giggle inanely. Instead, I scowled most of the time. It had to be the feminist in me, protesting against this violation of my principles. Yes, that had to be it. Really, are you sure the real reason you're having so much trouble at being a fake wife isn't something else? Of course not. Indeed, are you sure, for example, it isn't a little twinge in your heart every time you think about the word, fake? Shut the bloody hell up. It took me a few seconds to realize the effect my words had had. Looking around, I saw a stone-faced Mr. Ambrose sitting opposite me at the dining table. Around him, at other tables, couples were frozen in mid-motion, their mouths hanging open, staring at me. It was very, very quiet. I didn't mean you. Sorry. Continue, everyone. Come with me. I heard Mr. Ambrose's low and very controlled voice. His hand fell on mine, holding my wrist like a vice. Looking up, I saw ice glitter in his dark eyes. Upstairs, we need to have a little talk about acting skills. We went upstairs, but as it turned out, we didn't talk much that night. Asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk asterisk tilde asterisk tilde asterisk yes, we used separate beds that night, too. I'm a feminist, remember, staunch and true. At least that's what I kept telling myself. How long is this going to continue? I asked, trudging down the dusty alley beside Mr. Ambrose, trying to cover my face against the dirt with the hand I didn't need to hold up my dress. This sneaking into the raffles of the city, asking questions no one wants to answer. As long as it takes to find out the truth, was the curt reply. Or until we're found out. It's only a matter of time until Dalglish's agents discover who we really are. A matter of a very short bit of time, apparently. Mr. Ambrose's lips had hardly closed when a man stepped out from a doorway in front of us. He was wearing a cloth on his head that was twisted so it covered half his face, and his hand was clutching a dagger. I stopped in my tracks. 2 more men stepped out of other doorways. All of them had their faces covered and were wearing weapons. Wickedly sharp weapons. Blast, they're blocking the exit to the alley. And did I mention yet that the alley we were in happened to be of the blind variety? The men pulled down the cloths from their faces. All of them were smiling. I personally didn't feel a great inclination towards amusement. You have been asking a lot of questions around here, the man who had revealed himself first said. He had the biggest dagger and the nastiest smile of the 3, so he probably was the leader. Our master would like to know why, exactly. Let us pass. Mr. Ambrose's voice wasn't cold as ice now, it was cold as iron, which meant it was far harder. I only wished he had a gun of iron as well as a voice. The sight of those daggers didn't appeal to me. Whoever your master is, we want nothing to do with him. Step aside. The leader shook his head. Not before you tell me who you are. My name is Richard Thompson, and this is my wife. Don't give me the Thompson nonsense. The leader spat on the ground. Your name is not Thompson, and whatever you are here for, it is no honeymoon. Lazily twirling his knife, the man took a step closer, his nasty smile wider than ever. Speak, and what you say had better be the truth, or I am going to make this charming lady squeal. He raised an eyebrow expectantly, but I didn't answer, and neither did Mr. Ambrose. We weren't even watching the 3 men with knives anymore. No, our concentration was focused on the man who stood on the roof behind them. There was a movement and a soft thump. More movement came, and more thumps. The leader of the knife-wielding ruffians narrowed his eyes impatiently, waiting for an answer. He hadn't noticed anything, and didn't look behind him. That was why he didn't see the mountainous figure of Kareem straightening from where he had landed on the street. Well, the leader raised his knife. Speak, tell me exactly who you are and who you are working for, or I warn you, things will go very badly for you. There was a soft hiss as Kareem drew his saber. He stepped forward, and his huge shadow moved with him, falling into plain sight of the knife wielder. So did the shadows of the men who followed him. There were quite a lot of them. How interesting, Mr. Ambrose remarked to the 3 ruffians, who suddenly weren't smiling anymore. I was just about to say the same thing to you.